So, race one, and you can see the new forehead cam at the top right there, TV cam at the top left, and kind of the static triple screen view at the bottom. Got a decent start. Stayed over to the left side, trying to kind of go around the outside of people in this second turn here. Bit less grip out there, so it didn't really work out, but it did put me in a good position to avoid the upcoming drama here. I did actually hit that car there, but no damage that I could feel through the handling, and I finished the first lap in P12. Now we're on lap 3. Almost turned the car over there. I actually had to steer to bring the car back down again. A little bit of a mistake on my part, and ultimately cost me a place, but that was a much faster driver anyway. This was the bigger issue. Boom! On the left side there I hit the tyres pretty hard. It was only a glancing blow, but it did knock the steering out of alignment, and the whole rest of the race I had to turn left to go straight. It seemed fine on right-hand turns, but most of the left-hand turns it was giving me problems. And here you can see a replay, and I've looked at other laps, and I came so close almost every single lap, and this was just the lap where it came a bit too close. The interesting thing is that I did essentially just hit the tyre, it looks like, so I guess it makes sense that the steering was knocked in or, messed up. This is just the last position that I gained of the race on lap 9. Someone having a little problem, and I just passed them up. I would hold P11 for the rest of the race. Race 2, and starting with an inverted grid. First race normally with this league, I don't have any practice, and I normally try to learn the track in qualifying. I kind of knew this track from last season, but it was pretty nice to be starting up in the top 6 and around some cars that I could probably beat. I'd actually got quite used to the track in the first race, so this race, I was quite looking forward to it, and I got a decent start there. Neville Britton putting pressure on me here. I didn't want to make things too easy for the faster guys in this race, because I felt like I had some decent pace by the end of the first race, even with the damage that I was driving with. So just trying to hold my position here as much as I can. I thought that there might be a couple of people ahead of me that I could beat too, so as well as trying to keep the faster guys behind me, I also wanted to keep in contention with the guys in front. I'm sliding around a lot here, and you can see Neville takes advantage of that. He's obviously a more consistent driver, able to keep it on the racing line more than I can, especially in the early stages of a race. I think someone spun behind there because they weren't expecting me to slow down as much for that turn as I did. Sorry about that. Completing the first lap here, and I'm actually holding 6th place, which I would be quite pleased to finish in. And but as things actually progressed here, you could see, there's people falling off the track and bashing into each other, and I'm trying to take advantage of that as much as possible. So as I go through the chicane there, I'm now in 3rd place, and Neville, who brushed past me pretty quickly, is into the lead. It appears that I brake quite late for a lot of these turns, and I think that makes me a little bit more difficult to pass than I should be. But you can see behind me there's a little bit of mayhem as people are connecting and going flying off the track. as I was driving here, I could see that the person ahead of me was having a little bit of trouble keeping it on the track, and at this point I felt like I could keep it there pretty good. So I just tried to focus on hitting my marks and see if I could close them down. This was the first race, or the second race that day, that I had used triple screens, and I actually felt, especially in the final turn, being able to see the apex when it would be out of a single screen view was actually really helpful. The view at the top right of my forehead cam kind of shows you whereabouts I was looking at various times. Most often when I looked to the left, it was to take a quick glance in the rear view mirror. Passing this car here, it looks like he just ran onto the grass and spun out. But he'd ran wide a few times, so to be expected, I guess. Here, small error, ran wide. Currently running in second place on lap 7. Took the defensive line on the inside there. Didn't really expect it to work out, but figured I would make it as difficult as possible. Wasn't really sure if he would take a dive to the outside there, so I tried to protect the outside, and of course he just took the inside. And then, you know, faster drivers just crawling all over me. And now I'm in 4th place. And I think at this point I was a little bit upset with myself for screwing up and losing 2 places there. And should have probably been concentrating a little bit more on my driving, because I think I end up losing another place here. Almost run off the track there, and yep, that's another place gone. So drop down to 5th place by lap 8. Now up to 4th place because of a retirement ahead of me there, someone that ran straight on. I think it was actually this lap that I actually learned the line for this turn. I'd been losing so much time just through that section in qualifying and even the first race that I really didn't get what I was doing wrong, and it was actually following the faster car ahead of me, which I think might have been Carsten, I'm not sure. I essentially learned how to drive this track, and after this point I was capable of doing 125s, but I was also locking up the brakes a little bit too much and probably sliding a little bit too much, so getting the faster lap time also increased my wear rate on my tyres, which it kind of compromised the end of my race in a big way. I don't know whether I might have actually finished higher up if I had been lapping a second or so slower, but it's just one of those things, I guess. Lap 14 now, and due to another retirement ahead of me, I'm in 3rd place, coming under pressure from a car behind, trying to make things as difficult as possible for him, covering the inside, trying to make him go around the outside. Ultimately, you know, this just slows me down. I probably should have just let him go. probably a good job I gave him room on the outside there. I think if I hadn't, we would have had an accident. Ran wide there as well, trying to give him room, and lost it and smacked into Yorn there. Struggling a lot with warm tyres at this point as well. And as you can see from the forehead cam, I shook my head at myself there.